Always, what's your name?
Gloria Culver,
What was your maiden name?
Gloria Bjorklund.
Do you know where your parents got the name Gloria?
My grandparents came over from, my dad's parents came over from Sweden many years ago. And that's where the name came from.
Is Gloria a Swedish name?
No, Bjorklund is.
And that sounds Swedish.
Gloria, I don't know where that came from.
Just something
I
they
always
like.
wanted to ask, and I don't know why I didn't, I'm not particularly cared for that name. But, yeah, I say I never asked where it came from.
I always think of the song Gloria from the 70s.
Oh, I know.
That's the first thing I always think of with Gloria.
I hear that so many times. People will sing that song back to me. I had Eric Estrada once. We were at the NRA convention, and he was there. He was he was on the board, and he sang that to me when I went up to get his autograph.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was pretty cool.
That's fun. You didn't mind it from him.
No, didn't mind it one little bit. I always liked to watch his program, Chips.
Uh-huh.
Remember that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. He's handsome.
Yes,
I wouldn't
he
mind
is.
him singing to me
And
either.
he is handsome in real life too. I mean, he wasn't just makeup.
It wasn't just makeup. I like that. What would you consider your hometown?
My hometown. I was born in Maywood, California, which is just on the outskirts of L.A., the city of L.A. And I was raised in Norwalk, California.
And so did you go there for grade school and high school?
I went grade school, high school, a little bit of college. Went to Excelsior High School, which is in Norwalk, and went to Cerritos College, and that's where I went.
What kind of things did you like to do as a kid, like pre-high school years?
Pre-high school years, I was solely consumed in riding horses. That's all I would think of. My mom and dad bought me my first horse when I was about, 10 years old. And my cousins had a boarding stable, and we kept him there. And they had a bunch of kids that would come down and ride their horses. My cousins had their horses. And it was get out of school, run down, change your clothes, and go riding all day long. Go home, take a shower, go to school next day, do the same thing over and over and over. Even in the winter, we would ride down in LA. We'd ride out on the Los Angeles riverbed.
What was your horse's name?
Calico.
Calico.
Yeah, he was a great big pinto.
Did you have a best friend growing up?
Yes, I did. And I haven't seen her in forever. Trisha. Known her. Oh, hi, Kitty. This is a Bindi.
Want to be in the video, Bindi? There you go. Get comfy and out of Mama's face. Come on.
Come on.
There you go. There. So Trisha was your best friend as a little girl?
Yes.
Did you have a favorite teacher in elementary school?
Not really.
Did you have a favorite subject?
History.
History?
History was my favorite.
So then what about high school? What did you like to do in high school?
High school? Not a whole lot. I just went, got my grades that I needed to do. I didn't have anything like sports or any of that. I had my horse.
So it was still all about horses?
It was all about horses.
So the next question is, did you have a favorite pet? I guess we know the answer to that.
Yeah, I did. Calico. And I had the dog, Sassy, that was given to me when I was young. My dog had run away. I had a dog, Beagle, that ran away and never came back. I'm sure my dad probably didn't want him to come back because he was howling at all hours of the night and the neighbors were complaining. And, but the neighbor across the street talked to the mailman. The mailman knew somebody in the neighborhood that had puppies, and he brought me a puppy in his bag. And he came and he took the puppy out of the bag and said, I got a package for you, and gave me Sassy.
Oh, that's really sweet. I don't remember, do you have siblings?
Yes, I've got one brother that's still living. He still lives down in California. He lives in Garden Grove. And my older brother passed away here a couple of years ago, Brian.
Brian.
And Richard is still living.
And you are the only girl?
I'm the only girl.
Where were you at in the family line?
I'm the baby of the family.
You're the baby and the only girl.
Yep. So I got spoiled a lot.
Did you ever get in trouble when you were a kid?
I couldn't get in trouble. My dad was an LA County Sheriff's deputy. And when you're a sheriff's daughter, you don't get in trouble. Not a whole lot, anyway. I mean, you watch yourself because, you know, all the deputies are watching you because they take you like you're like a family. You know, they say thin blue line and all that, and they're like families. You know, and they watch me just like my mom and dad watch me. You know, they pat on my butt more than my mom and dad would. There's a few times that I did get in trouble that wasn't a very good deal that I did. And it had to do with horses.
Oh, now you gotta tell us.
I will tell you what happened. LA County Riverbed, that's where we, you know, did our horses, rode our horses. And they started to build the 605 freeway down in Artesia, down in that area. Well, we didn't want them to build the freeway through there because it took up our riding area where we'd go ride our horses. Mm-hmm. And all of us kids, when I say all of us kids, we're about 15 of us, at the stable we'd get together and we'd ride our horses down where they were building, you know, and they were grading the roads and, you know, putting in where they wanted the freeway to go. Well, we'd go down there and we'd move the stakes where they were off all over the place. And we'd taken, and on a weekend we'd go through and we'd pull the water towers that they had, the big water towers that they'd fill up the trucks and they'd keep the dust down, you know, they'd take them across and we'd go pull all the water. So they had to fill the water come next morning. And it was my turn to do it, to pull a line, and my horse was real spooky and he didn't want to be anywhere around it. And he was hard to handle when it came to doing that. So I put my cousin on back with me. I said, hold him right here, and I'm going to get off and go do that, and then I'll come back and I'll get on. Well, I pulled it, and about that time, here comes a green truck. A green truck's mean it's county. And they're coming our way. And everybody took off running with their horses. And I'm standing there with, you know, by myself going, guys, help, help, help. Well, I had a friend of mine come back after me, and she just ran around, and I just reached up, grabbed hold of the back of her saddle, and off we went, and I was dragging behind this whole girl. We got in trouble for that. They came down and they wanted to know who the kids were that just happened to be down in the riverbed and down on the freeway and have hoof prints leading this direction. I mean, we weren't real smart.
Let them right back to your house.
Let them right back to where we were. And we got in trouble over that. We had to go give an official apology, and we're lucky they didn't have our parents make it, you know, pay to
Redo it.
to redo everything they had to do. And some places there, and I still say that when you go down there and they have a turn, you know, going around a bend, like, that's not quite right, and it wants to put you off the path a little bit, but they didn't get that one fixed.
That's from you guys?
Yeah.
That's off a little bit?
That's off a little bit, yeah.
Oh, that's a good story. I like that. What was your favorite meal that your mom made when you were growing up?
My favorite spaghetti.
Spaghetti?
Mm-hmm.
She was good.
She made the best spaghetti. She got the recipe from friends of ours that were, their mother was from Italy. And we got that recipe. Oh, God, it was good. I live for spaghetti.
Spaghetti is good. What's the biggest difference you can name about today's world and the one you grew up in?
See that one more time?
The biggest difference between the world, like as when you were a child, and the world today.
I think I feel sorry for the children of today. They don't have the same world that I came from. I mean, I was allowed to go out and play after dark and not worry about drive-by shootings. I didn't have to worry about being kidnapped. We didn't worry about that when I was growing up.
And you were in a large area.
I was in a
to
very
be
large
close
area.
to LA, and it still felt
Very
safe.
rough area, you know. We were right next to Carson, and you know, that's kind of where the Watch riot started down there. And you know, it was a rough area, but we didn't worry about it. You know, they didn't bother us. You know, when I say they, I'm talking about the gang members and that sort of thing. They didn't bother us, and we didn't bother them. You know, and as a kid, you know, I didn't have to worry about that. You know, we'd go out and ride our horses out on the riverbed, you know, where there were bums and all that down on the riverbed, and we never worried about anything.
That's really good. Because, yeah, just in my head, I wouldn't think that was a safe area.
Yeah, you couldn't, and you can't do that now. I mean, kids can't go out and play like I used to go out and play. You know, they can't play in the daytime, let alone play at night.
Right.
So, you know, they're constantly looking over their shoulder to see if they're going to get shot. So, that's kind of where I feel I had it better than kids have it now.
Oh, for sure. That's a huge difference. Do you remember a best Christmas or birthday? Is there one that just sticks out in your head?
Oh, yeah. 13 years old. And, hang on. She's my best buddy. I was 13 years old, and Christmas was over, and I didn't get what I really wanted for Christmas, which was a saddle. I wanted a new saddle. Well, my mom says, well, I got to go over to the store and get some milk. I'll be right back. And my dad says to me, he says, come on, go out to the garage with me. I got a present for your mom. So I go out there, and there's this great big box, and he and I carried it in, set it down. It was all wrapped. He had it all wrapped. And Mom came home. She said, oh, what's this? That's for you, Mom. And she starts opening it. She says, come on, help me open it. So I'm tearing paper, and I'm opening it. And I look down, there's a saddle. I said, that's what I wanted. And I started crying, you know. And she says, oh, well, look on the back of it. It's got GJB. I have my initials on the engraved in the back of it. And that was probably my best Christmas.
Is that the saddle you showed me in your room?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's cool. I didn't realize that was from when you were 13.
Yeah, I got that when I was 13 years old.
And that's fun because your birthday is in January, so
Yeah.
you might have got gypped a little bit having a birthday right after Christmas.
Yeah, and that was bad. When you have a birthday in January, Christmas in December, you don't get half the Christmas presents you think you're going to get, or half the birthday presents you think you're going to get.
Yeah, they gotta split it.
Yeah. Come on.
Well, tell me about your mom. What was her name?
Ruth.
Ruth. What do you remember most about her?
She's the one that taught me how to ride.
Oh, she was the horse lover?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna just go in a little closer, then Bindi can stay on your lap and we can still see you.
Okay.
So did she ride a lot with you?
No, not really.
Just taught you?
Just taught me how to ride and put me off on my own. And I started riding back then, and I would be riding now if I were able to.
And then what was your dad's name?
Tracy.
And what do you remember most about him?
He was a cop.
Yeah. Was he the actual sheriff or a deputy?
He was a deputy. He was a sergeant, detective sergeant, and had badge number 1 from LA County.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
That's cool. What do you think they did most that influenced the person you are now?
What did my parents do?
Mm-hmm.
Taught me to be a good citizen. You know, being a cop's daughter, you have to live up to more than...
To you, grandparents or cousins?
Oh,
Anybody
I had a
special?
big family.
Did you?
Yeah. Of course, I had my 3 brothers, but they're older than I am. But I had a lot of cousins that were raised. We were raised like brother and sister. And with my grandparents were the biggest in in my family that I really cared for.
Were they close by?
Yes.
Oh, that's nice.
I lost my grandmother when I was 10 years old. And there was one day that went by that we didn't see her at least once a day. So,
What was her name?
Alice.
Alice.
Hmm. And my grandfather was John.
So, how old were you when you met your first husband?
I was 13 years old.
And what was his name?
Richard.
Richard.
Hmm.
And you met him riding?
Yes. Yes. He had a horse down at the stable. And he was what do you call that? Went into the army.
Uh-huh.
What do they call that? What they did to him?
Drafted.
Drafted him. Yes, he was drafted and had to go, into the army. And he sold his little horse Fanny. And I didn't think I'd ever see him again. He took off, and it's just a guy that I met, young man. A little older than me, but he was a nice man, And he came back from leave, on leave.
Very young.
Yes, I was young, and my mom and dad said, "That's if you want to do, you have to promise me if we, sign off that you can get married at that young age, that you finish high school. Period. You're going to finish it." And I did. I signed off, and I did. I finished, and that was the end of that.
Where did you guys get married at?
We got married at his church in Norwalk.
Big wedding or a small
It was
wedding?
a pretty good sized wedding. It was pretty big. We had about 300 people
Oh, that's pretty big.
at the wedding,
Mm-hmm.
and I had the big dress, and we had a reception that was huge. Had a champagne fountain, but I was sneaking over there and drinking champagne. I shouldn't have been.
What was the drinking age? Was it 18 or was it 21 at that?
21.
It was 21.
Yeah.
So you were way young.
Yeah.
You could get married but couldn't drink the champagne. So how long were you guys married?
5 years.
5 years?
Yeah. And decided, we're just too young for each other. We just grew apart, and that was the end of that. We just said, hey, we were too young
Yeah.
and grew apart. And we got a divorce.
So what did you do after the divorce? What did you do for work?
What did I do for work? I didn't do anything. I stayed with my mom and dad, And, well, I can't say I didn't do anything. I worked for a horse trainer that lived next door. And I was breaking colts for him. That's the reason why I have body parts that don't work.
You have had a lot of injuries. So how long went by till you met your favorite husband?
My favorite husband, how long?
From when you divorced Richard, right?
Mm-hmm.
How long until you met your favorite husband?
17 years.
17 years.
Mm-hmm.
You stayed single for I'm sure
I was
you
married
dated.
another time.
Oh, I didn't realize. Oh, you've been married 3 times.
Yes.
Oh, I only knew about
I
the
don't
first.
mention him.
Yeah, I guess not. Wait, how long until you married him?
How long until I married him?
Yeah, how old were you when you got married again?
24.
So,
Yeah.
just a couple years after.
Yeah.
And what was his name?
Fred.
Fred.
Mhm.
And was he a horseman also?
No, he didn't care for horses at all.
Oh, you knew that was never going to work out.
That was never going to work. He was a welder,
Okay.
and he built cars and that sort of thing. And with horses, no, that just wasn't going to work.
Yeah, you guys just don't like
On
the
many
same
levels,
things.
it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, that makes sense. Though, as soon as you said he didn't like horses, I knew he wasn't the
Yeah.
guy for you. So then you said 17 years later.
17 years later, I met Richard.
Oh, your third you had 2 husbands named Richard?
And Richard. Yep, first and last.
Well, that's fine. It's a good name.
Yeah.
So where did you meet favorite husband Richard?
The good friend that I talked about
Uh-huh.
earlier, Tricia,
Uh-huh.
her.
Oh, she introduced you?
She introduced me to him, and I had started a divorce with my second husband. And Richard and I started dating and got married, and here we are.
There you are.
My very favorite. He was a retired Marine major. And,
Where did you guys get married at?
we eloped.
You eloped.
We eloped. We didn't tell my mom we were getting married. We didn't tell anybody we were getting married. We just took off and went to Reno. And surprised everybody when we got home.
How long did you know each other before you got married?
No. God, long time. Very long time. God, I don't know.
You were a little gun shy though.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was a lot gun shy. You know, he asked me to marry him, and I don't know. You know, he kept asking and asking and asking. You know, he tried to buy me a car. You know, and he kept trying to get me to marry him, and he'd follow me around. He was always where I was going to be, because my mother was helping him. My mother liked him more than she liked me, and she was pushing us together, pushing me towards him and pushing him towards me, literally. We went out on one of our first dates, and we came in and we were standing kind of close to each other. My mom and dad were both standing there, and my mom pushes me into him and she says, "Well, kiss him, damn it." Mom. You know, I mean, I was really embarrassed on that.
Oh, I bet.
That was a funny story with he and I, with my mom.
Well, and you know, when we first started talking, I knew you and him did a lot of traveling, so I didn't realize that you had stayed pretty much in the same place until you married him. You stayed close to family
I did.
living.
I did.
But so then you guys got married, you eloped, and then you started traveling around. You lived in a lot of different places after that.
Yeah. He was, of course, retired from the Marine Corps, and he went from being retired. He got tired of being retired, and he went over to Saudi Arabia and worked there, starting the Saudi Arabian Marine Corps Scout Sniping School, which is what he started here in the United States for the U.S. Marine Corps. And he went over there and started that and worked there for a few years. And then he came back, and that's when he and I got together. And man, we did all sorts of things. We went everywhere. He got another job. He was working for the school district over in Kellogg, teaching the ROTC program for the kids over there at the high school. In fact, that's how I met Jennifer.
Mm-hmm.
She was in his program. And that's my caregiver. And I lost my train of thought.
You're fine. So that was when you were living in Coeur d'Alene, right?
Right. That's when I was in Coeur d'Alene. And after he stopped, he quit the school, he went to work over in Saudi Arabia again, teaching the same thing. And every 3 months he had to leave and go out of country. And some of the guys, they came home and had all their money sent home. And when you do that, you have to pay taxes on it here. But if you stay out of country, you've got, 350 some days. If you stay out of country, you don't pay taxes on any money you make overseas. So he would just stay overseas, and I would pick a place to go see him. The first time was England. We went to England, and oh God, we spent 6 weeks there. It took that long for him to get his visa back. That's the reason why, one of the reasons why he had to leave every 3 months is because of his visa. Why they do that, I don't know, but that's how it works, and it works okay for me.
You got to go to a new place every 3 months?
Oh yeah, and I'd go to several different places, because I found that when you bought a ticket to go overseas, to go somewhere like to England, I could buy a ticket to go to Paris, say 4 weeks or 1 week before he's due to go to where, to meet me in London. And I would just go to different places, and then going home, before I came home, I would go to another place. I'd go by myself.
I was going to ask, did you do all that traveling by yourself?
I did all that traveling by myself.
Nothing scary?
No.
Yeah, that's another difference about, where years ago and nowadays. 'Cause
Exactly.
women don't travel like
The only
that.
scary thing I had was I was going down to, I was coming out of Zurich, and I was going down to Kenya. And I was going down on Kenya Air, and it was full. The plane was just full, and I look over and I see these blue lights outside on the wing, and I see this fuel just pouring out of the wing, and I see fire trucks, and I mean and somebody had left it open, and we had to sit on the tarmac for about 2 hours before they got it all cleaned up. But that was the only scary thing I had happen.
Yeah, no hijackings or any of those crazy things
I
happening.
had fun in Kenya. One of the best places I've ever been to.
What did you do there that was so fun?
Oh, it was all the animals. It was the people. They think we're all rich beyond belief. We're all extremely rich, and you give them, a couple of shillings, which is a few cents, $1 or so, and they think you've just given them $1 million. And the kids, you'd see the mothers, begging on the street. So we'd, sneak a banana out of the hotel, which, had a breakfast and had all the fruit and all that. And I'd take a couple bananas and I'd put them in my bag, and I'd give bananas to the kids on the street because they're hungry. I mean, these little guys are wearing a t-shirt, no shoes, and just an old ratty t-shirt, no pants, nothing under it. So you kind of feel sorry, you know that you've got more than you think. It's a different environment, but the animals were beautiful. You know, seeing the elephants in the wild, seeing lions. I mean, close up.
That is cool.
Oh, it was so. I loved it.
Was Kenya your favorite international place you
Yes.
went?
Yes, but I was always grateful to come home. Always loved it when I came home. Yep, I'm on solid ground. You know, all bets are off. You know, you're not going to go to jail for anything that you didn't know that you were doing, that you didn't know was wrong. But yeah, I absolutely loved Kenya. You know, and I loved London too. But out of all of that over there in London, I think Scotland was the best.
Scotland was good.
Hmm. Yeah, that was the best. We went up to Inverness, which is where Upcourt Castle is, which is the bay that they took the picture of Nessie.
Mm-hmm.
And we went up there, and we rode on out of there. We went to the Upcourt Castle and went all through these old ruins of the castle that was built in 1180 BC or CC, whatever that is. And we took the Jacobite Queen boat and rode out on the lock.
Uh-huh.
And we went all through the locks, you know. So that was fun.
That sounds really cool. Did you ever go to South America?
No.
No South
No.
America. But
No.
Africa, Europe, you did pretty good. What's your favorite place that you went to in the United States?
New Orleans.
Yeah, you might have told me that because you told me to go have some chicory
Yeah.
at Cafe Du Mont.
Cafe Du Mont, yeah.
We did.
Yeah,
it
we
was.
spent a few weeks there.
Was that for work or did you guys go for fun?
We went for fun.
Yeah.
He was stationed there at one time, a long time ago, before I met him. And he was stationed there and knew all the places to go. So we had a camper, and we go park the camper and get a motel room up closer. And he'd take me to all the good places in New Orleans.
That's really fun. I really like New Orleans
Yeah.
too. You don't have any children. Was that a choice?
That was a choice.
Yeah.
You know, I started seeing bad things start happening when I was young, and I thought, I don't want to bring a kid into this. You know, it started out with the drive-by shooting started, and, I just couldn't do that. I couldn't do that to a kid.
I like that you made that decision and
And I held to it.
yeah.
Besides
you,
that, I had a lot of horses to ride.
yeah, you already had your babies.
I do, I had them.
What was your favorite thing about Richard?
My favorite thing about him,
Mm-hmm.
he was an honest man. I mean, if I had said something to somebody that wasn't right, he'd stick up for them rather than me. He did what was right. And that was my value, to try and do what's right.
Yeah,
And that was my favorite part of Mr. Culver.
I like that.
He was just a good man, and he loved the kids. When we were over at the school, he took Jennifer's brother, Joshua, which Joshua helped me move into this house, and Joshua was having some problems, and Josh just stuck to Richard like crazy. He's like his dad. And when Richard passed away, he helped me. He wrote the obituary for Richard. He helped me get his uniform ready to wear. And he said, I'm going to take care of you because I'm going to give back to what he gave to me. He said, I'm taking care of you. And it's the same as Jennifer, taking care of me, and her sister is taking care of me.
How long ago did Richard die?
February 24th, 2014.
Oh, it's been almost 10 years.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it had been that long. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Well, do you have a favorite book?
No.
Do you have a favorite song?
No.
Do you have a favorite movie?
Yes.
What's your favorite movie?
What was the name? What was that movie? The Proposal.
Oh, that's a good movie. What were the 3 best decisions you ever made?
Number 1, marrying Richard number 3. Not husband number 3. Showing a horse that I was showing, and buying this house.
This one that you're in now?
Mhm.
What would you say is the happiest moment of your life?
When I married Richard.
Yeah. What's the funniest moment of your life?
I don't know.
I'll let you think about that because I got a. It seems like overall you had a happy life, so that's good.
I did. I had a very happy life, happier than anybody could have.
Is there anything you would change if you could?
My husband not to die when he did.
How did he die?
He had dementia,
Oh.
and he started having seizures. And he went into one seizure where he never really came out of it. His arms were like this, and he couldn't move. He couldn't eat. He couldn't manage his own airway, and that's how he died.
Was he older than you?
Yes, he was about 17 years older than I am.
Okay, I was just thinking because, 10 years ago you were only 60, so he would have been very young to pass away, but 77 is still pretty young to
Yeah.
pass away.